And Telkom Kenya has just had its managing directors resign on personal reasons. Well, this week on Captains of Industry, we host Mr. Mugo Kibati, the Group Chief Executive Officer, to get an understanding where the company could be headed and just why the business is banking on its internet business to drive growth. KTN's Brenda Kerubo with more.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. We really appreciate. So how is business?
The COVID pandemic upended many businesses across the world and across the country, and for telcos such as Telkom, it was a mixed bag. Clearly, offices, commercial spaces shut down across the country, which meant that to the extent that we have commercial clients, communications clients, that business did go down. However, on the other hand, residential demand for data, for voice communications went up, and that was an upside for us.
So the pandemic has demonstrated our reliance on network. That means working from home and also virtual learning. The
number one priority was safety. Our employee safety, our customer safety, we've got field engineers, we've got, staff in various shops across the country. And we therefore had to reorganize ourselves such that, first of all, telecommuting became part and parcel of the way telecom employees work. In the cases where telecommuting was not really possible, we have network operating centers, we have field engineers. We had to institute protocols for how to operate under this COVID. The second priority was now to say, okay, there's been a complete shift because of the shutdown. The shutdown meant that commercial spaces were now mostly operating at a much lower state. So the demand for communications in offices, in hotels, in all these commercial office spaces across the country went down, but it went up in residential spaces because now people were cooped up at home, working from home, getting entertained at home. Kids are no longer in school, so schools were shut down, so demand in schools went down, but you had virtual learning now taking place. And so we then had to rebalance our network.
How then do you make broadband accessible and affordable across the country?
In the past, we have had the technology sector moving ahead of society. When I say society, I mean our habits and norms, but also policies, legislation. Today there's no reason, if you want to undertake a land transaction or even a simple financial transaction between a hotel and a customer or between two commercial entities, whereas it is technologically possible and has been for a long time, culture-wise, policy-wise, legally, it hasn't been possible. So I fully expect that governments across the world, and I hope Kenya will be at the forefront of that, will begin to review our policies and our legislation to allow virtual collaboration to be much, much more easier and faster and therefore more efficient. But it starts with habits. Habits drive policy and legislation. And of course, the issue of trust. I think this crisis has forced us to test and pilot things that we would not have piloted otherwise.
And in similar news, Telkom and the Standard Group have partnered to enable customers access the group's digital versions of their print content conveniently and in real time via their smartphones. At the push of a button, Telkom customers can now read the Standard and the Nairobian e-papers. Each e-paper will cost 20 shillings payable via airtime. Also available are the daily newspaper pullouts that one may opt for at 5 shillings each. The partnership seeks to make content more conveniently and instantly available to news consumers regardless of their physical location. The e-paper data rate has also been zero rated. All right, that's it for business news. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have the very latest in sports.